Hello, welcome to EPJ Parshala Spanish. My name is Nabil Ansari and I teach Spanish in the Center of Spanish, Portuguese, Italian and Latin American Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. We're in the paper entitled Spanish Grammar 1. In this module entitled El Tiempo, you're going to learn how to talk about weather conditions in general and how to ask and tell time. In Spanish, when we say el tiempo, it can convey two meanings, that is of time and weather. Let's see how do we tell time and talk about weather in Spanish. So let's start first with the weather. In our day-to-day lives, talking about weather is a very common way to start many conversations. Many times we talk about the weather condition and how it affects us. Thus it becomes necessary to know how to talk about the climatic conditions in a foreign language because it's a nice icebreaker and it is a general topic which affects everybody. Now you are going to listen to a telephonic conversation where Adolfo is asking about the weather condition. Una conversación telefónica.
Diga,
Hola Juan, habla Adolfo desde las Canarias. ¿Es un buen momento para hablar o llamo más tarde?
no hombre, está bien. ¿Qué tal estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú? ¿Cómo andas?
Fenomenal. Dime.
Mira, mi mujer y yo queremos hacer un viaje a Barcelona. Como aquí el tiempo siempre es igual, te quiero preguntar, ¿cómo está el tiempo en Barcelona? ¿Hace mucho frío?
No. Aquí el tiempo es agradable, aunque estamos en noviembre, pero no hace tanto frío. Por la noche hace fresco y por el día hace buen tiempo.
Me alegro saberlo, así que no es necesario llevar mucha ropa de invierno. Muchas gracias. Pues nos vemos en Barcelona.
Os espero con muchas ganas. Hasta pronto.
Hasta pronto, adiós. While talking about the weather, it is necessary to know the seasons and months in Spanish. So let's have a quick look at the seasons and the months. So the season in Spanish is known as la estación. So the seasons are, las estaciones son, summer is el verano, autumn is el otoño, winter is el invierno, and spring is la primavera. So the seasons are el verano, el otoño, el invierno y la primavera. And the months of the year in Spanish are, but month we say el mes and year is el año. So months of the year, los meses del año son January is enero, February is febrero, March is marzo, April is abril, May is mayo, June is junio, July is julio, August is agosto, September is septiembre, October is octubre, November is noviembre, and December is diciembre. So I repeat, the seasons are enero, febrero, marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre y diciembre. Note in Spanish, the months of the year do not take the first alphabet as in capital, which means in English we have, like for example in January the J will be in capital, but in Spanish, which is enero, the E will not be in capital letters. So all the months in Spanish are written in small letters. As you must have noticed in the conversation, the verb hacer is used to talk about the weather. So the word hace comes from the verb hacer. So in Spanish, in order to talk about the weather, the verb hacer or its form hace is used instead of normally expected verb that is ser, which means to be. So let's have a look in more detailed way. For example, if you want to ask how is the weather in Spanish, you can ask the same thing by saying ¿Qué tiempo hace? So how is the weather is ¿Qué tiempo hace? And the weather condition varies. So if it is cold, you can say hace frío. If it's hot, you can say hace calor. If it's windy, you can say hace viento. If it's sunny, you can say hace sol. If the weather is cool, you can say hace fresco. So I repeat, hace frío is when the weather is cold, hace calor when it's hot, hace viento when it's windy, hace sol when it's sunny, and hace fresco when it is cool. Now, when we want to say the weather is good, it is said as hace buen tiempo. And to say weather is bad, it is said as hace mal tiempo. So hace buen tiempo means the weather is good, and hace mal tiempo means the weather is bad. Now, in order to ask the temperature, we ask in English, what is the temperature today? But in Spanish, we say the same thing as ¿Qué temperatura hace hoy? So, ¿Qué temperatura hace hoy? And if the temperature is, for example, 45 degrees, so we will say as estamos a 45 grados. So as you know, 45 is 45 and degree is grado. So 45 degrees will be 45 grados. So estamos a 45 grados, which means we are at 45 degrees. Now sometimes these expressions, that is weather expressions, also take the verb ser, and especially when we talk about the climate of the place, which generally doesn't change. So there is a difference between weather and climate. The weather changes every day, but when we say climate of the place, so the climate is kind of constant. So the climate normally doesn't change. Now, if we are talking about these kind of weather conditions, then we use the verb say, that is, we use s form of the verb. So if you want to say it is pleasant, then we say es agradable. If we say it is humid, then we say es húmedo. If you want to say it is cold, then we say es frío. If we want to say it is warm, then we say es caluroso or cálido. And if you want to say it's dry, then we say es seco. Now all these conditions are when we are saying with s, then we convey the meaning that we are talking about the climate of that place, that is kind of constant weather condition of the place. But sometimes while talking about the weather conditions, verbs are also used. Verbs like to rain, to snow, to drizzle, these are used in Spanish as well. For example, if we say it is raining, so to rain is llover. So if we say it is raining, so it is llueve. Llueve means it is raining. Same way, nieva means it is snowing, and llovizna means it is drizzling. So these are verbs, and not these weather conditions are not used with hace, that is hace, or with the verb say that you have just learned the form s. So there will be only one verb conjugation, like llueve means it is raining, nieva means it is snowing, and llovizna means it is drizzling. Now at times, so sometimes I is also used for weather expressions, in expressions especially like it is foggy or it is misty. So if you want to say it is foggy, it can be said as hay niebla, and if you want to say it is misty, then we can say hay neblina. After having talked about the weather, let's talk about the second meaning of el tiempo, that is the time. So the time in Spanish is el tiempo o la hora. Asking and telling time is something very basic that we do in our day-to-day lives. It is an integral part of our day-to-day lives, and thus it is important that we learn how to say and to ask and to tell the time while studying any foreign language. So now in this module you will find some basic expressions related to time and also how to say and tell, how to ask and tell the time. Now, before going to that, let's know some basic vocabulary related with time. For example, watch is known as el reloj. Wristwatch is known as el reloj de pulsera. Alarm clock is known as el reloj despertador. Digital watch is known as el reloj digital. And hourglass is known as el reloj de arena. So these were some types of watches that we can normally see in our daily lives. Now, how to ask time? The most common way of asking the time in Spanish is ¿qué hora es? So if we say ¿qué hora es?, it means we are asking the time. So as you can see, time is asked using the verb ser, but also other verbs like tener and decir can be used for asking time. Before going to that, you should remember, and which we have already explained you in the previous modules, that there are two manners of addressing someone. One is informal way, that is tu form, and the other one is formal way of addressing, that is usted form. Now let's see first some examples of the informal and then some examples of the formal ways of asking time using the verbs tener and decir. So the two form of asking time is perdona, tienes hora, meaning excuse me, do you have time? That is the literal translation, but what it means is excuse me, what's the time? Or you can also ask the same thing, perdón, ¿qué hora tienes? Meaning excuse me, what's the time by your watch? Or simply saying what's the time? Or you can also use another form by saying disculpa, ¿me podrías decir la hora por favor? That is, excuse me, could you please tell me the time, please? These were some of the informal ways of asking the time. But you want to avoid this, and if you find this confusing, then you can simply ask ¿qué hora es? Now, at times you can listen also people asking time in a formal way. For example, perdona, perdone, tiene hora, means excuse me, what's the time? Or perdone, ¿qué hora tiene? Again, it's the same meaning. Or disculpe, ¿me podría decir la hora por favor? Meaning, excuse me, could you please tell me the time, please? So these were the various ways of asking the time in Spanish. Now, for telling the time, we always use the verb ser. That is, you have learned the verb ser, the conjugation soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. But for telling time, we use the form of es when the time we are mentioning is singular, that is 1 o'clock, like, and we use son if the time is plural, that is 2, 3 or 4 o'clock. So how do we say that in Spanish? So if you want to say it's 1:30, then we say so. The two form of say that is used for telling time is es and son. Es is used for singular, that is when the number is 1, and son is used for plural, that is when the time or the number is 2 and 3 and likewise. So if you want to say it's 1:23, so one is una, so es la 1:23. If you want to say it's 3 o'clock, so we will say son las 3:00. And if we want to say it's 4:30, then we will say son las 4:30. Now, have you noticed that the verb say remains singular for 1:23, that is s, but changes to plural for 3 and 4:33? It is because in Spanish, time is plural for anything later than 2 o'clock. Moreover, time is always feminine, so we say la una and not el uno. But we say las tres and not la tres. As you know, time becomes plural after 2 o'clock. So till 1 it will be la una, and after that, like 2 and 3, it will be las dos and las tres. Now below you can see the pictures of a clock and the time demarcations used. So in this picture, as you can see, if the time is exact, so we will say en punto. So we in English we say it's 2 o'clock, it's sharp 2 o'clock, or it's sharp 3 o'clock. That meaning can be conveyed by saying en punto. Same way, if it is 15, that is 1:15, 2:15 or 3:15, like that, that is said as y cuarto. If it is 30, like 1:30, 2:30, that meaning is conveyed by y media. If it is less than if it is 1:15, 1:45, or 1:45, that is said by saying menos cuarto. Now let's see some examples to understand it. So for example, if we say it's 12 o'clock, so 12 is 12. So if it's 12 o'clock, we'll say son las 12:00. If it is 12:20, so after that 12, for telling time we are adding the minutes. So if you want to say it's 12:20, we will say son las 12:20. If you want to say it's 12:30, then we will say son las 12:30. If we want to say it's 20 to 1, then it means that there are 20 minutes less to 1. So we will say the same thing as es la 1:20, which means 20 minutes less to 1. If you want to say it's 1:45, then we will say es la 1:45, meaning it's 1:45. And if you want to say it's 12:58, that is it's 2 to 1, then we'll say es la 1:2. So literally it means there's 2 minutes are less to 1. So es la 1:2. And when we want to say that it's almost 1 or almost 2 o'clock, so for this word almost, we use casi. So if we are saying it's almost 1 o'clock, then we can simply say es casi la 1, which means it's around or it's almost 1, which we have in English. So the parts of the day are used to denote the time. For example, AM can be conveyed as de la mañana. So de la mañana is used before now. And de la tarde is used from noon till evening. So de la mañana till noon, and de la tarde is used from noon till evening, and de la noche is used between evening and midnight. So from morning to noon we say de la mañana. From afternoon to evening we say de la tarde, and from evening till midnight we say de la noche. Now let's see some example. If you want to say it's 6 o'clock in the morning, that is it's 6 a.m., we say son las 6 de la mañana. If you want to say it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then we say es la 1 de la tarde. If we want to say it's 2 p.m., that is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then we say son las 2 de la tarde. Same way, if it's 9 o'clock in the night, then we say son las 9 de la noche. And if it is midday, we will say es mediodía. And if it is midnight, then we say es medianoche. While writing, the 24-hour format is written in digits, or the 12-hour format is written in words followed by the parts of the day. For example, if we are while writing, if we want to use the 24-hour formats, then for 9 we write 9 horas, that is 9 horas. For 11:30 we write 11 2.30, that is 11:30 horas. And for 1 o'clock we write 13 with 2 dots and then 00, that is 13 will mean 1 p.m. and 23, for example, will mean 11 p.m. So this was 24-hour format for writing. So we write the hour and then we write just simply horas, which will signify the hours. Now the same thing while writing the 12-hour format will be, for example, 9 will be las 9 de la mañana, meaning 9 a.m. Same way 11:30 will be las 11:30 de la mañana, meaning 11:30 a.m. in the morning. 1 o'clock will be la 1 de la tarde, meaning 1 p.m. And at 11 o'clock, that is 11 p.m., will be las 11 de la noche. Now for asking about the time of the actions, we use in English questions like at what time. So at what time something opens, at what time we have class, or at what time or something. So the same thing for asking the time of the action, we say a qué hora. And for telling about the time of the actions, we say a, la or las. Now let's see some example to understand this. For example, Pedro, ¿a qué hora termina el examen? So ¿a qué hora termina el examen means at what time does the exam end? And the reply can be a las 2:30. 2:30, remember, means 2:30. 2:30. So a las 2:30 means at 2:30. So this at is said with a. Same way, another example, if we say Profesora, ¿a qué hora llega el autobús? Meaning, Professor, at what time does the bus arrive? And if you want to say around 9, so this around is said as sobre. So sobre las 9 means around. And if you want to say at 9 o'clock exactly, so we will say a las 9. So whenever we want to say around and then the time, it is sobre, and whenever we want to say at, then we will simply say a and with the time. For example, Carlos, ¿a qué hora es la cita? Meaning, Carlos, at what time is the appointment? And then the Carlos will mention the exact time, and he says a las 9:15, meaning at 9:40. So a las 9:15. So Carlos, ¿a qué hora es la cita? A las 9:15, meaning Carlos, at what time is the appointment? Then the Carlos replies exactly that it is at 9:15. So a las 9:15. Now let's have a quick look about the days of the week. So note that the days of the weeks in Spanish are not capitalized, so which means that like months, they will also be written with small letters. So days of the weeks are Monday, that is lunes, Tuesday, that is martes, Wednesday, that is miércoles, Thursday, that is jueves, Friday, that is viernes, sábado, which will be Saturday, and domingo will be Sunday. So it is lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado y domingo. That was from Monday to Friday, Monday to Sunday. Now to ask and tell the day, the following is used. That is, ¿qué día es hoy? Which means, what's the day today? Or we say, ¿a qué día estamos? Which also will mean the same thing. So if someone says ¿qué día es hoy? So reply can be taking the name of the day. For example, hoy es, which is today is, and then whatever the day is. For example, if today is Thursday, then we'll say hoy es jueves. So if today is Thursday, so tomorrow is said as mañana. So hoy es today, tomorrow is mañana, and day after tomorrow is pasado mañana. And we can use all these with the days of the week. So also remember that the days of the week are all masculine, and the definite article el or los has a special function of being used as on. So let's see few examples. So the plural of the days of the week is used when we refer to something that happens regularly on that particular day or days of the weeks. So the plural is used when we want to say, for example, as in English, on Sundays, on Mondays, etc. So the plural of the days of the week will be used, and the singular will be used when the action is not repeated. Just to make it more clear, let's see two examples. For example, if we want to say she dances on Sundays, so this on Sundays in Spanish will be los domingos. Domingo is Sunday, on Sundays will be los domingos. So ella baila los domingos. Same way, if you want to say Pedro works on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so this again will be said as Pedro trabaja los miércoles y jueves. So los will be translated in English as on. So same way, if it's one day, that is, if you want to say, if you want to ask someone when is your exam, then then you can say the same thing as ¿cuándo es tu examen? And if the person replies it's on Monday, so you will he will say that es el lunes, because the action is not repeated, so it will be el lunes, which will mean on Monday. So el lunes will mean on Monday, el martes will mean on Tuesday, etc. But if I say los lunes, then it will mean on Mondays, or los martes will mean on Tuesdays. So what have you learned in this module? In this module you have learned about how to talk about weather conditions and expressions for the same, how to ask and tell time, and also how to ask and tell the exact moment of an action. Apart from these, you also learned days of the week and months. Now, if you want to practice more, or if you want to know more about these things that we have just covered in this video, you should refer back to the e-text, because e-text has got more information regarding these topics which we have just dealt with, and e-text will also have more exercises so that you can practice whatever you have learned, and also it will have links which will take to other websites if you want to learn more about the same. Thank you.